Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 video. So, the PTS is in the process of going live as we speak, and the patch notes are here for our first look at what's being tested. And yeah, it's a big one. The install size for the PTS patch notes are extensive, to say the least. So, yeah, I don't imagine the actual update size will be 100 gigs. You'll need space to download it, but it'll replace a lot of existing files, so the actual install size will be a bit smaller, but yeah, you might need some room to download it to install it first, so we'll see how that pans out actually in March when this goes live, but for now, there's your FYI if you want to check this out on the PTS, which is Steam as usual, if you want to do that. If you're playing the game through Steam, then you can, well, you'll already have it for free, if you would care to install it. So, Ghoulification and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, because these patch notes are so long, I'm going to split this into two videos rather than just one, or we'd be here for a really long time. We're going to have a look at the Ghoul stuff and a couple of other feature-based changes in this video, and in the next video, we'll go through the combat and perk changes, as there's a whole bunch of stuff there as well. That video will be coming after this one. So, let's have a look at the Ghoul, because I got to check this out at Bethesda's office with an alpha build a few weeks ago, and yeah, it's cool, but I only had a little bit of time, and I was pretty sure there was going to be some more nuance to it that I was just not going to have time to get to grips with while I was there. Judging by the patch notes here, I was correct on that point. So let's have a gander. So, Ghoulification. For the first time in history, you will be able to play as a ghoul. Starting the new questline, Leap of Faith, we'll take you into a new section of the Savage Divide. There you will meet characters who will aid your transformation, unlocking Ghoul-specific abilities Glow and Feral, as well as new Ghoul-exclusive perks. So yeah, we're kind of aware of this. Kind of avoided saying this in my previous video, but yes, the new area is in the Savage Divide. Basically, the top end of it has been pushed a little bit further north. There was kind of room up there anyway to do that. But yeah, it's just allowed them to put a handful of new locations in. This is technically a map expansion, which is part of the reason it's so big. However, it's a very small map expansion, so it's not Skyline Valley, it's just a little bit on the top. So, there's your FYI on that front. So, Ghoul abilities. First up, the Feral thing. So, becoming a Ghoul sheds the need to sate your hunger and thirst. Yep, food is, and drink not necessary anymore. Instead, you'll battle against annoying desire to slip back into your base nature, abandoning all sanity you may have had. A new feral meter drains over time and can only be filled back up using chems. So I thought this was the other way. I thought using chems was going to drain the meter. It's not the case. Using chems fills it up so you don't go crazy. You may not want to keep that meter filled though, as your feral status provides different bonuses and penalties depending on how full the meter is. So before I go into the nuance here, I would say I'm not quite sure as of right now where the heck that feral meter is. I couldn't, in the alpha for stuff that I played, find it. I don't know if it's somewhere in your Pip-Boy or if there's a UI update that was not yet present in that build of the game or what. We'll find out when I jump into the PTS and try this out, which I'm going to be doing very, very soon. Keep an eye out for that one. Come join us for live streams. Hopefully we'll get some details on that, but exactly how to track it, I'm not quite sure at the moment. Hopefully that's something they've factored in. Anyway, it gives you a range of different benefits depending on how close or far from going feral you are. So, fill the meter up to not be feral, let it drain in order to go feral. So, above 80%, you will gain +3 strength, endurance, and +30 to your max HP if you are very, very far from going feral, which is cool. Leaning into that melee emphasis that ghouls definitely seem to have. Above the 60% mark, you'll lose the strength and endurance buffs, and half of the HP buff as well. You'll just be at +15 max HP. At 40, you will start to get negative effects, 40% on the feral meter. You'll be down at -1 endurance and -5 max HP. And above 20, you'll lose -3 endurance, -15 max HP, and some action points as well. Now this is again moving towards that 0 mark, so it looks from this like you want to be really above 60% on the meter or at 0. Being in between those two marks do not look like the place to be. However, when you do go feral, you will gain +200 melee damage and lose some endurance and HP and AP, and you'll lose some hip fire accuracy with guns and also VATS accuracy as well. So yeah, 200% to your melee damage, massive buff there. You'll lose some endurance, making you squishier. Lose some HP, but it's only 30, it's really not that impactful. Lose 20 AP, but if you're leaning into this, you're probably going to be a melee build, and action points are mostly geared towards running. That's probably going to be the most annoying thing, but not massively impactful in the way the build performs, I don't think. Lots of gun accuracy in both hipfire and VATS. It means that if you are, like me, somebody who doesn't use VATS and actually aims their weapon, this won't actually affect you very much, apart from the loss of HP and endurance and stuff. But you also won't gain any benefits either, so swings and roundabouts. Yeah, not sure what to make of that, really. Keeping yourself... The problem is, to get to 0%, where you actually get benefits, you've got to spend a lot of time with a lot of drawbacks. It is a limited time thing. You won't stay feral forever. You'll kind of come back again, I think. The exact ins and outs of that are not listed here, so we might have to play around with it and find out. But keeping yourself at that threshold seems like it might be a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, it depends how easy it is to stay close to that line and be able to drop into feral and out of feral when you want to. Mind you, this is something that I'm sure they will want to test and tweak and figure the balance out of on the PTS. We'll see how it changes between now and March. So, Glow is the other ability that is unique to ghouls. As you might expect when living life as a ghoul, radiation doesn't have the same effect on you as it does on smooth skins. You are immune to diseases and cannot be mutated by nearby radiation. Question. And as a ghoul, radiation makes you glow. So, cannot be mutated by nearby radiation. What it doesn't say is that serums don't work. It doesn't say they do either. My guess, and again, we'll have to find out, is that if you want mutations, you'll have to use serums to get them. My other question is, what about mutations you already have when you become a ghoul? Do they remain, or do they get wiped when you become a ghoul? I don't know at the moment. I know I had the chance to play it early, but I didn't get to actually put that to the test. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have thought of it anyway. There we go. What happens to your mutations when you transform? Well, we'll probably find that one out later this evening if I can jump into the PTS, which hopefully I will be doing. The new glow system. This increases your maximum health and heals the damage you've taken based on the amount of radiation you've accumulated. Yeah, so rads heal you in general. Glow kicks in when you're over 100% health, effectively. Your glow can be tracked by the green striped pattern on your HP bar. Yeah, okay, so yeah, your HP bar goes green and glows, basically. It's easy to see. Much easier to track than the feral thing is, actually, which kind of makes some degree of sense, but it's not very practical. Unless I'm just missing this meter. But yeah, it also works on a point basis, so I'm wondering if there's some way you can track that, because that will be relevant later than specific number of points of glow that you have. So yeah, it might be visible in your Pip-Boy somewhere, but we're going to have to look into that one as well. Consuming tainted food, drinks, and exploring irradiated environments all contribute to your glow. Basically exposure to radiation. That's pretty much what it is, wherever it comes from. If you hear that Pip-Boy ticking, radiation is hitting. While you're in power armor, your radiation intake can be seen on the RADS dial next to your health. That's not a change, it's an FYI. There's a little RADS meter down there, you can see what's happening. Obviously, power armor will still limit the amount of RADS getting through, because that's what power armor does. Outside of the max health increase that Glow provides, it also contributes to perks like Science Monster and Jaguar Speed, which are mentioned below. I missed both of these in the testing I did, and I'm not sure if that's because they weren't there or I just overlooked them. I went through everything. I may have just forgot them. That's another possibility, but anyway, we'll have a look in a second. One benefit of living life as a ghoul is that you have access to a new suite of perk cards that you can use in addition to normal human cards. For the most part, there is no caveat to that little observation. There are 28 perks to choose from and 2 new legendary perks, which I definitely forgot to check, for ghouls. So, the new perk cards can be attained through perk card packs or by selecting your level up perk. So yeah, we've got between now and March to get to that point. You can become a ghoul at level 50. So I suggest if you want to do this, you make sure you've got a load of unused levels in the bank. I'm not normally a fan of grinding levels. It seems mostly to be a waste of time once you've got your build set up to me. IMO. That means about 300 or so, really. But in this case, it'll be useful to have some spares in the bank. Anyway, my weird observations aside, do note that perk cards that revolve around hunger, thirst, and chem resistance will be locked as ghouls don't require the benefits that those cards provide. Yeah, they would actually be the equivalent of equipping a debuff, basically, to you. So you won't be able to use certain ones that are counter to the point of being a ghoul, which makes a certain amount of sense. It kind of protects you from, to some degree, from ruining your build, I suppose. Unless you really do want to lean into that in some way. But that would be a very niche scenario. Anyway, certain perks you can't use. There's your FYI. So here's some example perks that you'll be able to access as a ghoul. There are a whole bunch more. I'll do a little video going through it again once the PTS is up, and you can actually have a look at this in more detail. So, Strength, Bone Shatterer. Your melee weapon attacks have a 45% chance to cripple a limb, so more crippling damage. There are a whole bunch of melee perks as well as the other benefits listed above. Perception, Eye of the Hunter. Your vision allows you to be more accurate in VATS from a very long distance. What about when you're not in VATS, Bethesda? How about those of us who can actually shoot straight? I'm getting annoyed with this, can you tell? Pretty much since the summer there's been an ongoing thing of excluding people who don't use VATS and don't play in groups, and it's starting to get on my proverbials, shall we say. So, Endurance, Glowing Gut. This will be helpful. Irradiated food and drink grant 300% more rads. Now, there's the glowing goop stuff you can pick up in West Tech. I can't remember what the exact name is. We'll go with glowing goop for now. That when you consume it, it's basically like drinking highly irradiated water. If it affects that as well, that will be a really easy way to keep your rads up at all times. You just keep a bunch of that on yourself and keep your rad total up. I imagine that's what most people will do. Sort of sounds a better option anyway for now. Charisma, moral support. When you're on a team, you become feral 50% slower if you want to go down that road. If you want to become feral faster, then you wouldn't use this perk, I suppose. Science Monster. This is the intelligence perk that I don't recall. When you have glow, you gain 15% bonus damage for 10 seconds upon being hit. So you take damage, you dish out more damage for 10 seconds. Useful. Just about every build will find that useful, I think, if you're playing as a ghoul anyway. Agility, Jaguar Speed. Now, I remember the previous effect, even if I don't remember the name. I don't remember this one at all. You sprint 20% faster when your glow is high, greater than or equal to 180 glow. So this is where you want to be able to track those glow points, which the health bar won't help you do. At least not until you figure it out anyway, and you might be able to estimate it then. But yeah, you need an actual number for that. So yeah, hopefully that'll be listed in the Pip-Boy or something somewhere so you can track it a bit more easily, because otherwise this will be a bit hit and miss as to whether or not your Jaguar Speed is being activated. So, luck, we have Wild West Hands, 36% chance to instantly reload your entire magazine when empty. This is an interesting one. It's something that could have an impact in another game, but won't have an impact in 76 because it's so darn easy. If combat was actually dangerous and having an empty magazine was a problem, outside of like one situation that I can think of anyway, this might be a worthwhile perk, but yeah, being as combat is not dangerous through most of the game, it's pointless. I'll spend your perk on something better. Ghoul's Day Out. So, this is an interesting one. With all these new benefits that will help you explore the wasteland, we could forgive you for thinking that life as a ghoul was easy. It ain't, and the quest will quickly debase you of that notion. And no matter how well dressed you are, there's still some factions, like the Brotherhood of Steel, who won't want to interact with you. Playing as a ghoul will make some factions hostile to you, which will lock you out of their quest lines. But wearing a disguise made by Jay, a new NPC you'll meet along the new quest line, will allow you to interact with any blocked content that you may find when living life as a ghoul. So, if you want to go and do the Brotherhood of Steel questline and you haven't already, you'll need a disguise. There are some trade-offs to being disguised though, which is an interesting turn of events. Sprinting will cost you twice as much AP. Feral meter depletion rate is increased by 30%. So you'll go feral faster, which probably is going to be a bit of a giveaway that something's wrong if you go feral, I imagine. Doesn't say that here, but it would make sense, wouldn't it? Movement speed is slightly slower overall, that will be annoying, and super over-encumbrance is a thing, as if over-encumbrance wasn't enough of an issue as it is. Drastic AP drain and forced slow walk, so if you're over-encumbered you basically won't be able to move. Doesn't affect your carry weight from the look of this, but when you are over-encumbered, you're iffed. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, most of the time, I don't think this will have a massive impact, because you'll put your disguise on, go into Fort Atlas, for example, have a chat with people, and then leave. It's just certain points in the questline where you are accompanied by a member of the faction that it might cause a problem, and make that actually a little bit harder. whether or not it's harder in a way that is a challenge to be overcome as opposed to just an arbitrary penalty, which I feel like it probably will be a bit on the arbitrary side, is a different question though, because obviously one of these things can be fun or the other one tends to not be, so we'll see. But yeah, it's interesting that they decided to put a challenge in there to make the disguise element a little bit more challenging, not just a blanket easy way to get past the otherwise canon objections that certain groups would have. Don't worry though, if after a short while you find out being a ghoul isn't for you, you can switch back to being human through your character screen. Interesting. Just know it's a one-way ticket back. You won't be able to complete the quest line to becoming a ghoul again. So I have several points here to observe. There's a few people out there saying, oh, you'll be able to buy your way back and do it more than once. You will not. It's a one-off. Also, you won't be able to become a ghoul again, so it's academic anyway. Yeah, some of the information out there that's floating around is not correct. So yeah, if you become human again, you won't be able to become a ghoul again. Now this has changed, because I was definitely told that you could become a ghoul a second time, but then wouldn't be able to transform back to human a second time. This is not the case. You can become a ghoul once, and you can change back to human once, but that's it. And it is free. Now, the character screen thing is an interesting question. Is this just going to begin a quest line to transform back, or not? Because if it's just press a button to change back, then that's disappointing, because the devs were very, very insistent that there was going to be an in-game LoRB-friendly manner in which you would be able to transform back, and it would be built into the whole, the gameplay element of things. So it wasn't just an arbitrary menu type thing. This, on the other hand, sounds like that's not the case. So what the hell, I think is what I'm thinking here. Have they just not been able to pull that off? Not terribly surprising if it's the case, really, but it looks like this may just be a bit of a boring change back option, which is sad at the very least. It's also worth noting for PTS players, by the way, that as of the moment, the change back option is disabled in-game. It's not currently active on the public test server. It'll become active later, I'm sure, but right now it's not, so FYI. So, a couple of other things to talk about in this video before we go on to the combat stuff in another one. We have two little changes. First up, a new seasonal event. Bethesda did hint a couple of weeks ago that there will be a number of new seasonal events coming next year. First one is the Big Bloom. Spring is coming, and we wanted to introduce a new themed event to March. To match, even. Okay, not March. Introducing Black-Eyed Susan, a new friendly NPC who is sure to remind you of a grandmother. If black eyes remind you of your grandmother, I think somebody ought to be calling the police. Because no! I don't know, that's a bit weird. Maybe it's figurative. Or maybe it's referring to something else entirely. Maybe she's a bit possessed. In which case, call an exorcist. She loves flowers, floral arrangements, and totally doesn't have a secret backstory, so stop asking. Susan needs help with their latest project, and luckily for her, there are a bunch of Vault Dwellers who are ready and willing to help. Black-Eyed Susan's favourite meadow has been overtaken by strange plant-like beasts called Overgrown, making the area too dangerous for her to pick flowers. So she needs you to head into the meadow and pick some flowers, defeating these monsters. Okay, I'm assuming there's a bit more nuance to it than just shoot Overgrown. Do watch out for the mines, though. They're remnants of her previous attempts to keep the beasts out of her meadow. So, yeah, a lot of open questions to this. Interested to try it out. I'm guessing what they will do is put this in the top of the hour slot, so top of every hour it will run on the PTS, same as it will when it goes live. Although they might put it in every event slot just to give us maximum opportunity to test it. I don't know, but we might get a chance to have a look at this. I'm curious about the location. Again, we'll find out. I can think of one spot that it would go well in, but whether or not that is the place, who knows? I'm curious to find out where this will be set. And what on earth is going on with the black-eyed bit? Yes, we'll check that one out on the PTS very soon, in live streams, I hope. Yeah, new seasonal event. I hope there is more going on than just shoot Overgrown, but it looks like they have spilt over from New Jersey and have been expanding out of the Pine Barrens further west as well as going east. Which sort of makes a certain amount of sense, really. Why would they just go east? We don't know a great deal about the Overgrown, I suppose, really. Where they come from or their motivations, so definitely some questions there. Maybe there'll be future information coming at some point in a story context later on down the line. Be interested to see that. So the last thing to talk about for this particular video is the Perks Catalogue. The Perks Catalogue is a new way of viewing and organising your perk card collection. It's filterable, sortable, and has 2 different views, and even lets you tag specific cards for search. Check it out by opening your loadout and pressing the All Perks button on the left-hand side of your screen. Left trigger on controller, M on mouse and keyboard. Let us know what you think. It's basically a new way of approaching the perk menu, a redesign of the perk menu. It's a UI change. Hopefully one that will make it a bit easier to navigate and see what's what with. Again, live stream coming up. We'll check this one out, see what happens. Okay. Just nice to have, I think. Probably a quality of life change. So, there we go. For now, I'm going to stop this one here because that's quite enough information for one video. We'll go over the combat changes and the perk card changes that will be coming with this update in a separate video. So, notification bell, subs, all that good stuff. That'll be coming very, very soon, hot on the heels of this one, probably tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, whole bunch of changes. A couple of things in here I'm none too impressed with, as always, and a lot more coming in the next one that I'm not particularly pleased about. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out the Ghoul. I think whilst there are some perks and things that lean into more ranged weapon-based stuff, it does feel a bit like you'll be playing against type if you do try and do a ranged build as a Ghoul. Maybe we'll look into it at some point. I'm sure people who are more into doing builds will have plenty of information on different Ghoul builds in coming weeks and months, and they're probably far more qualified to make extensive setups along those lines than I am, because this is not my forte. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be cool. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you found that interesting and informative. As I say, watch out for the follow-up to this one with the rest of the combat changes. There's a lot of stuff to go through there as well. If you did like the video, please consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Down below, got social media links and channel memberships if you want to support the channel that way. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who's done that. And as I say, join us for live streams. We're going to check this out very, very soon, as well as continuing to play on through the current live servers as well. So, do hope to see you there. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.